everybody, it's Wendy. I am here to talk to you today while I make a wreath. I'm going to tell a story. This story is called The Story of the Big Tree. And as promised, I'll be making a wreath while I tell the story. So I'm new at this. This is only my second ever video to do. And it's a little, you would not believe the lights I have around me. I don't know how people do this. I'm dying, really, I'm dying. Well, anyway, so let's get to it. We are going to make a wreath, but first I want to show you my backdrop. This is an homage to our time at the farmer's market here. We made a sign, we had burlap. So I thought I would use that to decorate the wall here in my new wreath room. So without further ado, let's make a wreath and we will tell the story of the big tree. Okay, all right. Well, everybody needs a place to hide, I would think. As a child, I loved to go off by myself and hide a little bit. I had so many places that I could hide. One of my favorite places to hide was under the stairs in our house. In our basement, there was a little space under the stairs. You had to remove a door and climb in. There I would draw on the walls and I would talk to myself and I would do all kinds of play. Mostly I remember listening to my sister's stereo right outside. Queen, A Night at the Opera is what I remember listening to, and I would go in and out and flip that record over, start it over, and do it again from front to finish, the whole thing. Because when you listen to an album, you really ought to listen to the whole thing. So if you're younger and you haven't done that, you're missing out. You've got to start, it's a story. It's like a wreath. You have to do the whole thing. So that was one of my spots that I loved to hide. And one of the other places I liked to hide was our hay barn. Now I lived on a farm, was lucky to be a country girl and lucky to have lots and lots of acreage to roam in southeast Missouri. And I loved to climb up in that hay barn when it was full of hay. I would rearrange the bales and I would make a little fort. I would play with the many barn cats that I would find. We're always finding a mess of kittens in the hay. And it was so neat just to clamber up in there and just listen to the cows outside in the feedlot. There was a barn door that you could open and look out and see the pasture and the creek and the lake. It was just beautiful. But my very favorite place to hide was a big tree. Back in our very back pasture was a very old oak tree. And this is the place that I love to go the most. I would go running out the kitchen door, down the steps, down the gravel road without shoes on, I know, because gravel did not bother me, across the bridge, over the fence, past the cows that probably thought I was crazy, through waist-high grass, running to get to this big tree. And the big tree was just there, always waiting for me. It was so beautiful and so big, and it had big limbs, like other trees coming out from this main tree. The bottom of the big tree, the bases around the ground was very rocky with roots. It was very knobby. And so if you walked up to the big tree, you had to walk up very carefully because you couldn't run up there, because if you did, you would trip. But it was almost like out of reverence that you would approach slowly, because it was such an old tree. It was sort of respectful to me to just be able to slowly enter the space. And as I'd enter the space, there was a little hollowed out place within the trunk, and it was the perfect fit for my 8-year-old self to fit in. I would nestle down into that little spot, just perfect. And I would talk to the big tree. I would tell the big tree all about my day. I would tell the big tree all about school or what happened or anything that was exciting, anything that was upsetting. I was so enamored with just talking to the big tree, and I would cry if somebody hurt my feelings or something upset me, which was probably not real often because I didn't get upset a lot, but I was a different kind of kid, as you can already tell. I sometimes felt misunderstood or felt like, I don't know, that I might be being overly sensitive or something, and I would run off to go and sit under the big tree and talk to the big tree, and it was such a great place to be. Well, I made the mistake one time of telling my dad that I talked to the big tree. And when I did this, I realized something. I learned something. You don't, as my mom would say, you don't tell everything you know. That is so true. And you don't tell things that are special to people unless you can really trust them. And most of the time, people are going to tell whatever you say, right? So I just remember telling him, and then almost immediately being so sad that I did, because he went and he told my grandma, and he told some other family members, and that was sort of a topic for a while, that I talked to this big tree. I'm sure they probably thought it was cute, but it was embarrassing to me. And so as I grew up, I kind of less and less visited the big tree. And now, of course, it's gone. The big tree's gone. It was swallowed up by development. Its roots were destroyed, and it died. And I was really sad when I heard that it did die, because there's so much history. I remember sitting under that tree and imagining what had happened there, because my dad would say, this tree's probably about 200 years old. And I would sit under the tree and I would imagine what maybe the Native Americans thought. They probably camped under it as they went through on their way west. I thought about my grandpa. My grandpa, this was his land before it was ours, and I thought about him resting under the big tree when he was probably out working in the fields. I had such fond memories of the big tree, and so for many years I didn't think a lot about it. I kind of forgot about it, honestly. I guess until you get older and you have kids, and you start thinking of things. And I remember thinking of the big tree later and thinking of how safe I felt at the big tree, and how special I felt, and how warm it was to be there, and how safe, and I could just talk about anything. No judgment at all. And then I realized something that's a whole lot like the feeling that I had when I came to Christ. Safe, warm, loved, just accepted for who I was and how I was, and it was okay if I was a little bit different, because he loved me no matter what. And I realized something. I realized that all my time at the big tree, I had been in the garden. I had been at the foot of the Savior. I didn't realize that he had been with me all along. That just drives me just over the edge to think about that, to think that he was with me, loving me right then at the big tree. And the cool thing is if you know anything about our Savior, you know that he had a little bit of an experience with a tree too. So I just want to say that the reason why I named my business The Big Tree was because when I thought of something, what could be something so special that I could call this business, that could be so special to me, because I'm not going to do anything that doesn't mean something. Everything means something. Everything does. And honestly, every single thing is his. And I thought, what a better way to pay just such respect to the tree and my relationship with Christ is to call this the big tree. So with every single wreath that I make, I pray over every wreath. This wreath right here is going to go out, and I will be praying for, I've actually already prayed over the wreath and all, but I want whoever gets this wreath to be happy with it. I want them to have joy, and I want them to know that I did not do this wreath just without care and without thought of beauty and just something that might just tickle somebody when they get it. I'm hopeful too that when you get your wreath, if you get a wreath from me, I'm hopeful that you will take a look on the back. I always put a little blessing on the back, and the blessing is from Isaiah. So Isaiah 32:18, my people will live in peaceful dwelling places, in secure homes, and undisturbed places of rest. Isn't that cool? So to think about this wreath going someplace, and I'm so hopeful that whoever gets it has a safe place to live. I hope that they feel warm and safe and loved and all those things, because we live in such uncertain times and we have so many things to be stressed out and upset about. I mean, if you just turn on the news, it's a mess. Everything's a mess. And I know it's probably supposed to be this way, but we still need to have beauty and we still need to have joy. So I think that through creativity, through making things and trying to spark joy is so important right now. It's something that we can control. We can control that. We can control how we speak to other people. We can control what we think about. We have control. And I'm hopeful. I mean, just this little endeavor of selling wreaths, I'm hoping that it sparks joy. I'm hoping that somebody gets it and is like, yay, I got a wreath. Because how much joy is there in receiving a package and getting to hang something on your door that welcomes people into your home and does so with such joy behind it. So, the big tree. That's the story of the big tree. So, stay tuned. I'll have another story coming up. I think the next story I'll tell is probably about my chickens. So, everybody have a really great day. I hope that you will look up. I hope that you'll keep looking up. I hope that you will have hope. And I hope that, I hope good things are happening to you. I do. So, thanks for watching. See ya. Okay, I just thought I'd show the finished product. We didn't do that when I was telling the story, but here it is. That is what I was making, and it is finished. This is called the Tis Autumn, and it is selling, as they say, like hotcakes. In the sweltering heat, people are already doing fall, and this stuff that it takes to make these wreaths is going quickly. So if you don't order yours, you're probably not going to get one, and that's just the plain truth. So anyway, just wanted to show you guys what we finished. So anyway, there it is. Okay, see ya.